I'd like to introduce you to a good old girl tonight. You know good old girls. They're the flip side of Southern belles. And unlike their frilly, well-bred sisters, good old girls are rough on the outside and soft on the inside. Brett Butler plays the part every Wednesday night on ABC's hit comedy Grace Under Fire. We talked when she came home to Marietta. Don't let the limousine and the designer suit fool you. When she visited here for a show at Georgia Tech, those good old girl surviving skills were as sharp as ever.
I was looking in the mirror and going, damn, I wish I'd made it when I was young and pretty. And then I went, oh, I was drunk when I was young and pretty. Oh, well, you know.
She was a hellraiser, living a life made for Patsy Cline lyrics. Born in Alabama, Brett's hard-drinking father walked out on the family when she was 4. At 16, she was living on her own in Marietta, her mother too ill to care for her and her 4 other sisters.
I said, I'd like to say hi to all the guys I dated in Atlanta. That ought to be half a share point.
She tended bar and dives across the state, including a topless lounge in Atlanta. At 20, she met and married her first husband. She says it was hell. She drank, he beat her.
I mean, what made you? I used to tell people my ex-husband was cleaning his fist and it went off.
She says she endured the abuse and made excuses for 3 years.
Whenever he hit me, it felt like I won. Because no matter how bad things got, I'd never sink to his level.
At 23, she left. But what could this Southern alcoholic, battered, enraged, intelligent woman do? For 12 years, she spun her horrific past into stand-up comedy in clubs around the South and New York.
And I did it, and I did real well the first time I did it, and then the next time I did it, I really bombed.
But she kept at it, and the raw, real, and relentless banter eventually grabbed the attention of ABC executives. Last fall, Brett Butler starred in a new comedy series that's consistently scored high in the ratings. Grace Under Fire is a 30-minute art imitates life story of a blue-collar mother escaping an abusive husband. With the help of her mother, family, and friends, this self-taught trailer park housewife beat the odds. She's sober now and dealing with the inevitable comparisons to another working-class comedian.
Well, life is tough, Jackie. Sometimes
press accounts complain Brett, like Roseanne Barr, is ungrateful, difficult, opinionated. But when she's home, she also deals with the past, a past that's both rich and conflicting.
When you come back to Atlanta and you think so much of your humor comes from your growing up years, how are you, the bits of your humor like your father, and how are bits of you like your mother? What did each give you?
My father, whom I never actually saw after I was 4, but I have gotten some of the things he wrote and read, and I know a lot about him from his friends, was a dark, satirical, bombastic malcontent. My mother is a judicious, very liberal, and I mean in all senses of the word, liberal bohemian who taught me to cherish what is unique about myself.
You used to perform at dancers?
Yeah.
Not as a dancer.
Darling, that would have been comedy, yes. That was when I quit drinking.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? How did the two blend? I mean, what made you?
It was hard. I had a bad drinking problem, and I was around a lot of people. I don't even mean the dancers. I just went, do I want to do? I mean, ironically, the thing I thought when I got up was, I'm not going to be funny if I don't quit drinking. Forget the fact that I was dying in a reprobate. And, yeah, I did that. It was a tough gig.
Do you think?
Well, I think I might have been genetically predisposed to it. And I think it also might have been a way to medicate feelings, deep, intense, painful feelings that I had that were no one's fault. I really believe I was born to be one, and I needed every drop I ever had. And I'm real grateful that there are other people who had stopped that helped me do it. They said, hey, you can be just as funky and edgy and rich inside as you ever were, only you're not dying. There's the price tag. You're not going to die.
Do you drink now ever?
No. Nope. What is it somebody told me? Once you're a pickle, you can't be a cucumber again.
Now, you've had comedy all your life, but your comedy really didn't get to be what it is until you had your, quote, hellish husband.
Yeah.
How do you turn?
There's more to it than that. You know what? He wasn't the only thing. He was like a symptom of a much greater dis-ease in myself. he was something that, you know, wow, that was, you know, I didn't bargain for that. He was a symptom of me not knowing about myself and not taking steps towards myself, of being a real dependent person. There's a lot of people who had to fight real hard for their art. I had to fight hard to be sane.
Grace under fire. How much of Grace is you? Or is all of Grace you, except for the fact you don't have children?
I was raised by a single mother, so I am empathetic, but it's almost as if someone with the qualities I have could only be redeemed on network by the presence of 3 children. You know, wasn't heroic enough just to leave a man who beat the hell out of you unless you had these 3 little kids and you're trying to hold it all together, you know.
What about this? I read where they said, and it was they wanted you to lose weight.
They did.
Who is they?
Skinnier women who don't really function in a creative capacity.
So did you go on a diet?
But listen, I just think it'd be, well, you know, she and I are best friends now because I'm succeeding. But, yeah, she sent a whole bunch of Jenny Craig to my hotel room. And it really chapped my ass, you know.
But did you go on a diet?
I did it on my own. I didn't do it their way. I also did it on the I'm happy now diet. I'm really happy. Yeah.
Grace under fire has brought you what that you thought you couldn't have before?
A bigger bra size at Christmas.
Wait a minute.
Getting them, baby.
No, you're
Getting them.
not.
Yes, I am. I got size 10 feet, and I'm tired of wearing underwear.
You really
What do you want me to say?
it.
Spiritual peace?
No,
Come
but
on.
are you really going to do that? Aren't you afraid?
Bet I am. Am I afraid? I've been afraid. This is a minor inconvenience next to what I've been through.
You are described in so much of the stuff that I read as being controlling, yes, and that they're creating a monster, and they can.
There should be more. I know who I am at night when I go to sleep. I know who I am. I do have power. I have personal power. And now that I've been given power in a formal capacity, it's appalling. I do this line in my show about the maturity is the lengthening of time between when you realize someone's a jerk or something's very wrong and you tell them that they're one. Well, I am really growing up. I sit on the fence of temper and passion and lately come out on the side of passion much more often. It really means a lot to me to be fair. I know I am.
Roseanne, you two met in a club not too long ago. Tell that
well,
story.
I mean, I've met her. I've known her for years.
But I'm saying you've known each other, but you
since,
bumped into each other. So tell that story, because I think it's wonderful.
I hadn't seen her since my show had been on the air, and all I ever read is, oh, the new Roseanne, the new Roseanne. And it's always said in such a disparaging way. There's no one like her. And I don't think there's anybody like me, you know. So anyway, I went over to her in the club. I hadn't seen her, and she was talking to somebody else and just kind of like, you know, like squeezed my hand a second and gave me, and I was like, okay, good, she's not upset. And I said, look, I haven't seen you in a while. I hope you don't mind these comparisons because they're not coming from my camp, and frankly, I'm flattered in the sense, like when they think they're cutting me down by comparing me to you, it gives me muscle. And she just goes, she says, oh, I think you're really funny. Well, she told me a long time ago, oh, I think you're really funny. You know that I already told you that and everything. You're a really great actress and everything. And I just wish you the best of luck. And I mean that sincerely. You're just so great. And everybody knows that you're a really great person. And she gave me this like 15-minute talk on what to do and not to do. And I was like taking mental notes. And she goes, I'll look around. I look around. Everybody in the club is like looking at us. She goes, tomorrow it's going to say lesbian power gab.
I know you want to write a novel. I know you write poetry and short stories. Why is that a necessary exercise for you?
It saves me in some real private place. It's a way of trying to be better at something. It's a way of trying to be like things I admire.
Because you read so much and you know what's usually said about Southern women. In many ways, you do fit the stereotype.
I personify her. I personify those Southern women that I like, from, you know, Rosemary Daniels to Abolitionist to Flannery and Eudora. God bless her. I met Eudora Welty at the Atlanta airport about a year ago. She was sitting there in a wheelchair, and I couldn't stand it. I was like shaking. I went over. I said, excuse me, are you Miss Welty? And this bell-like voice, she said, yes, I am. And I just, you know, that, I'm not worthy, you know, that thing. And then we were on the plane, and I was looking around, and I was just about shaking, and people were saying, are you Brett Butler? And I was like, yeah. So anyway, we got on the plane, I was standing in line behind this older Southern woman on the plane. She was about 60 or so, and I said, excuse me, I just have to tell someone this. Eudora Welty's on this plane. And she went, oh, we are honored. And she meant it, and it was just... It was one of the times in my life that I felt so good about being a Southern white woman, like maybe 3 times, and I went, that was okay. You know, this was an old grand dame, and Eudora was, and usually I hate I hate what a lot of it's about.
You've got tears in your eyes. Why?
I was just thinking about, like, today, you know, doing this gig down here, that real love-hate. I did a gig at Stone Mountain before, and believe me, I've been to Boston, and for me even to be led to believe my whole life that we had some, you know, we Southerners were responsible alone for all the racial misery in the world, which is what I grew up believing. I was at Stone Mountain once, and I looked at that mountain, and I said, "Are y'all rebels?" I was doing a concert for 3,000 people, and they said, "Yeah," and I said, "Why don't you blow that sucker up?" And if it's possible to hear a pin drop in a crowd of 3,000 beer-drinking people, I did. And I thought, why do I do that? Because I want that to happen. But then I have these, like, really small moments of respect between people. Like, I wanted to pay homage to her. So I was just thinking about being a Southern woman, what the hell it is.
You are so
I like being one.
sensitive. You have this hard
Oh, don't
shell.
tell anybody, because I have to go back to work on Monday and fire people and kick men in the groin.
For those of you wondering, after our interview, Brett dropped me a line, and she said she did undergo breast enlargement surgery.